Welcome to How to Be a Man Month. My name is Bruce Da Silva. I'm a dating and transformation coach based in beautiful and sunny Los Angeles. Let's start it off. What does it mean to be a man? Throughout history, there's been a lot of ways that men have been defined, and it's evolved and it's changed and it's adapted depending on culture, religion, location, wherever you are. Let's look at the frame as to which we're focused on for this month, which is how to be a man. I created a very simple format that showed me how to exude the characteristics of being a man. However, you guys are here because you want to learn, but also who am I? Who am I to come here and speak with you guys? Yeah, Bruce Da Silva, dating coach based in LA, all these things. Cool. What about him makes him qualified? That's a great question. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking of it. And if you weren't, you should, because a part of being a man is also understanding how to discern what makes sense from what doesn't make sense, how to discern fact from fiction and know what's the truth that's in the middle of the two. But that's really what we're looking for is the truth, the wisdom, the some even would say the love of wisdom, which in Greek translates to philosophia, which is philosophy. The way that I've been able to break down being a man is in a way looking at what is our role as men in society and what is our role historically, biblically, what is our role? I broke it down into what I call the three P's. Our job is to provide, protect, and to also be present. Why are these so crucial? Given my background in the dating world of how to be a man and personal transformation and how to be a leader when the environment doesn't support that belief system of you being a leader, I had to learn a lot of it on my own. Growing up, I had a unique upbringing, family from Brazil, and I had three older siblings. And when I was younger, at the age of 12, I believe, is when my parents separated. And at 12, it begins a journey of puberty for a young boy, and it's their transition into okay, hormones are changing, interests are changing. Now there's a big shift, and when things change in our lives, we tend to look for answers. We tend to look for models of how we should behave. And in that moment of separation with my parents, I ended up living with my mother, which did an amazing job. Just the challenge is there wasn't the masculine male presence that we needed for myself and for my older brother for us to develop into healthy men who understand, okay, how to be a man, how to nurture ourselves, how to nourish ourselves, how to be providers, how to be protectors, and ultimately how to be present in life, not be depressed by the past or anxious about the future, how to be present, living in the present moment. Now, what I learned throughout this experience through many challenges in the beginning. At 12, they separate. That up until 18 was a lot of, wow, I'm doing a lot of this on my own. Me and my older brother are figuring it out. We end up going to high school and there's a lot of challenges there. Our friends who we grew up with, they had their father figure there with them, and we didn't. And when you don't have that figure there, that role model, you start looking in other places. And where do we look? We look in the media, we look in stories, we look in movies, we look into our church. Who's the leader? Who's the guy speaking? What's his deal? There's a lot of temptations and a lot of pulls in different directions as to who we should be and why we should be this way. And what I've also realized is, although we had my mother in the picture, with my dad not being in the picture in the same way as my mom was the main caregiver and protector and provider, she actually ended up playing a lot of the more man roles. She was tapping into the masculine, which is very counter to her nature. And due to that stress, and you can look at it like this, due to that stress, what happens with men when they're stressed, who are masculine men, typically if they don't fight and remain steadfast in their masculine, they become very submissive, very passive, and they become more of the feminine. And in this case with my mother, she did the exact opposite. She was very feminine, very playful, loving, all these things, very sweet, very kind, very receiving. And due to necessity, she had to become the provider, the protector. She had to be present in that moment. And she became dominant. She became masculine. And she was able to tap into the two of them very well, although it wasn't fair to her to have to deal with this. So, not having this role model leads to a lot of challenges as to how we should behave, why we should behave we do. And if challenges arise, what's the answer? Where do we go? Fast forward, I go to college, 18 to 22, in Tampa, Florida. Incredible experience, loved it a lot, had a lot of fun, learned a lot about myself, about others. That was a massive learning curve because in college I went and I said, all right, new beginnings, new opportunities. I'm this young guy, confident going in, and my confidence came through necessity. I wasn't necessarily born with confidence or the ability to communicate. Some of that was there, but through necessity, which they say necessity is the mother of ingenuity, of invention. I didn't have a choice, or rather, I did have a choice, but that's not one that was in alignment with who I wanted to become. College goes, all my stuff is happening. I'm meeting people. Had a couple girlfriends. Went on plenty of dates. Went on adventures, trips, different friend groups. Learning how to communicate, how to navigate the labyrinths of social connections, social dynamics, how to transform in that moment from who I was back in my hometown to who I was deciding to become, not because I was a prisoner of my circumstances, but because I believed that I was a manager and creator of my destiny. I manage it. I said, hey, these are the variables. I'm going to create the destiny. Let's see what we can do to make it happen. Going through college, experienced many major challenges, but I'd say two of the bigger ones, which is fundamental to a lot of the development of a man, is a breakup. Right? Breakups can do that to us, right? They say a broken heart, an empty stomach, and an empty wallet are three of the best teachers in life. And I never really went hungry in college. I never did. Money was tight, of course, but then the heartbreaks, they were pretty tough. Had two of them, and that really drew me back a lot. I was able to communicate with women. I understood how to be fun, playful, and charming, but I didn't know the fundamentals. I didn't know how to communicate with them. I didn't know how to be masculine. I didn't know how to be a man. This was a challenge because what the ladies are waiting for is they don't want someone who they need to teach. They don't want someone whose behavior they need to explain and rationalize to their friends. Oh, he did this, he did that. Bruce was this way, Bruce was that way. No, they don't want that. And the later we learn that, the more we actually lose. And the challenge there is that we believe at times we can get away with whatever behavior we want. And the consequences, we can deal with them. But the consequences, if we don't deal with them early, they're going to keep coming on and on. First relationship in college ended midway through college. Beautiful summer relationship, great connection. I had challenges. Trust was an issue. Didn't know how to healthily communicate as best as I thought I did. I tapped heavily into the feminine energy. I became very submissive. I wanted to appease and please. And all that did was drive her away. Fast forward to the end of college, I was learning more. I became even more charismatic. I was learning how to communicate. I was tapping into my charm, but I wasn't really sure of myself. And although I got better as a communicator, I still had trouble with the trust issues. The trust issues that I failed to develop the ability to trust because of that past experience with the element of father figure. And what happens there is now there's a gap, and now I'm unable to actually fill that gap in the way I wanted to. And because of that unhealed, undiscovered past, it's now coming to the forefront of the present, and it's affecting a beautiful, marvelous relationship with an incredible woman at the time. We separate, and it was heartbreaking. It was definitely a challenge. After that, I ended up moving from Florida. I'd go to Morocco for a year, plenty of new challenges there. I go to Israel for the year after COVID starts. I moved to DC for about 2.5 years after, let's say 2020 to 2023. Moved to DC, COVID's wrapping up a little bit, and I'm living in the city. I have my master's degree, young man, single. What can we do in the city? Now, I learned a lot about how to be a man in this city because of the work I was doing. I was doing a lot of side hustles as I was building my coaching practice. And I also learned what it meant to really be a man. And what I realized is that in moments of necessity is when we then become our highest self, because we realize how can we create the outcome we want if we have a framework that is in alignment with our values. What does that mean? If you're a man and you want to feed your family, great. That's admirable. That's something we should all do. But if you're a man and you need to feed your family, so your vehicle to meet that need is to rob from people, to lie to people, cheat, steal, whatever it is, that's not being a man. Someone asked me the other day, what is the difference between being a good man and a great man? It's really simple. A good man compromises his values in order to meet someone else's needs. And a great man maintains his values and standards regardless of what other people are going to think, because he knows that that's what's right in his soul and his spirit and his value system. As well, good guys capitulate and great guys captivate. Very different. Good guys pull. Oh, come here, come here. Oh, they're begging. But great guys are like a magnet that it just gravitates towards them. When I was in DC, I had to go through plenty of these experiences, especially in the dating realm of understanding who do I need to be? Okay, I understand how to create the attraction. I understand how to communicate and go through the trust stuff. Great. But wait a second. I didn't even know how to lead the process of how to meet someone, then actually go from a casual meeting to then getting to a loving relationship. And when it was building in that way, a lot of the insecurities again came and they came and they came. Fast forward, and what ends up being realized is there is a lack. Although I'm enough, there is something that I am not demonstrating to the people I'm meeting that is showing them, hey, this guy is someone who has value, who's capable, and who has quality. I had to look at myself and I even said, Bruce, out of all these experiences, who's the common denominator? Is it girl A, girl B? Oh, but girl C, blah, 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 blah. Wait a second. I'm the common denominator. And what I realized, and this is one of the lessons of really being a man, is learning from our mistakes and having the confidence, the ability, the discernment, the humility, being humble enough, every attribute that we need to actually realize, hey, I need a shift and I need to take responsibility. Ultimate responsibility is what I said I would take. Excellent. And from that point forward, after specifically one partner I had, we had broken up, and then the partner after also we broke up. I realized something here is going on. Something here is happening. I'm a boy, but I'm not really a man. What other areas of my life am I also being challenged in? So while we've discussed the relational element of being a man, and we'll get more into it, there's also the element of how do I even present myself as being a man? Am I someone who has integrity? Am I someone who is able to protect, provide, not just romantically, but also for those who are weaker than me? Am I protecting the minority? Am I providing for the people who need something? Is the old lady crossing the street, am I going to help her? Am I going to laugh at her? The young man who's getting bullied by his peers. Whoa, why should I be allowing that? Am I actually remaining integral? Am I going against the current of unpopular opinion? Or is the popular opinion rather going against what I'm trying to share? And am I remaining steadfast in what I believe and how I can make that happen? All this comes down to is our ability to understand we need to maintain our values and have integrity. We need to look as to how we can provide and how we can protect. So often it comes down to a lot of guys deciding, you know what, I'm not going to try anymore. No, the world's getting tough. There's a lot of challenges out there with good reason. And I'd love to take a moment with you guys to understand what challenges are actually happening for men in their teens, in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, even up until 80s, 90s. The world's changed dramatically. And the way that the world's changed is that, in theory, the world has become flat. Not that if you get on a ship, you're going to fall off the edge of the earth into the abyss of space, not like that. But the idea that the earth is flat is that your competition of even being a man is not local, now it's global. Competition is not a bad thing. If you even look at the root of competition, it really means to conspire together. When you conspire, you work together in a way to sharpen your iron. Iron sharpens iron, as the good book says. While this is a beautiful thing to do if we can learn how to actually navigate it, it also does present an entire slew of new challenges. Why is that? I want you to think about the average man today who, let's say, is 20. They're 18, 20, 22, pre-college, mid-college, post-college, even mid-20s, late 20s. So this guy, he's super young. Great. He has time on the horizon, but no one wants to hire him because he has no experience. He has no skill set, really. No girl wants to date him because he also probably has no experience. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to create romance, how to create attraction. In society, he really kind of has no value because unless you provide something, there's no value. All these components. Now, this guy is going to go out into society and he's going to attempt to create connection with a woman, let's say, in the dating realm. This guy goes out, he tries to speak with women, and he goes, he humiliates himself because he doesn't know how to speak to a woman. He has no job, so he has no income to provide for her. He's probably out of shape because why should he be in shape? We shouldn't even be healthy anymore. He has a gut, he's not in good health. Why should she go for him? Women are looking to date up, and men are not looking to date up in the same veracity, the same level that women are. Women look to date up, they're hypergamous. They want someone equal, if not better. This is a brutal reality for a lot of men to understand, but if you begin to realize that as a man, we need to provide, protect, and increase and add value in the lives of other people, specifically women that we are looking to actually create partnership with. So here's the reality. That guy has no income, very little income. He has no experience with women. He doesn't know the world, whatever it is. He plays video games all day. So why should the average guy who has all those things against him, why should he go out, speak with a woman in his community, try to make a relationship? He humiliates himself because he doesn't know how to speak with women. She rejects him, and she tells all her friends, and now he's humiliated. And even if that worked, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe it goes south. He gets embarrassed because she didn't feel comfortable with him. She then says, oh, he was being really weird. Something negative happened. He gets Me Too'd, whatever it is that happens. His career's over. His reputation's done. He has no prospects. He's decimated. Even if he gets out scot-free for doing practically nothing, and of course there are exceptions, but he gets off for doing nothing, what is his alternative? What he's going to do in reality at this point is he could become better, which requires work, effort, time, energy, and money, things he doesn't really have much of, except for time, which he doesn't even have that much of if he was paying attention. So the reality is he, instead of going out and meeting someone, developing the skills that take time and effort, when he's seeing these people on social media who are living the life, flying these beautiful people out to places that they can only dream of, having careers that they can only dream of because they're outcasted. So these men now, they're actually on the outskirts. They're not going to go out and meet someone. They're going to go home, they're going to play video games, and they're going to or eat Cheetos all day while playing video games in their parents' basement. Why should the average man go out, humiliate themselves, get Me Too'd, constantly get rejected when he's already being unappreciated by society because his skill set isn't actually appreciated in the modern Western world? And why doesn't he just fulfill his needs for food with Uber Eats on his phone, for entertainment through Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Paramount Studios, HBO Max, YouTube, whatever it is, on his phone? He could meet someone on Tinder on his phone, doesn't have to go out and take action. He could also just watch porn. So all his basic needs are being met. There's artificial connection, but he'd rather be artificially connected with digital pixels on a screen than actually go out and connect with a real living human being because he doesn't understand what it is like to actually be a man. He'd rather do that, put on an Apple Vision Pro, wear a bodysuit where he can visualize himself living in an alternate world and maybe even being with a woman. He wears his bodysuit that vibrates in certain places to stimulate the environment. There's no reason in his mind, because he especially doesn't have the skills to go out and try to connect and meet a beautiful woman and even connect and create community. This is a very harrowing challenge that we have. And this comes to the forefront of what does it mean to be a man? There's probably a moment that happened in their life, and in reality, a consecutive amount of moments that led them to believe, I am not capable, I am not competent, I am not confident, I am not a man. And instead of battling, which is within our nature, to succeed, to conquer, to be powerful, we're going to concede. We're going to pull back, submit, and let everyone else have their way. And I don't believe that's what we should do. I firmly believe that our reality is dictated by the actions that we take on a daily basis. But the only way we know where we're going to go and how we're going to get there is if we really know where we want to go. If you're running east looking for a sunset, you are never going to get there because the sun sets in the west. What does it mean to be a man? Here's what I recommend and what I did to improve my situation. I struggled with a lot of that stuff. I struggled at times with pornography. I struggled at times with lower levels of confidence. And I also struggled at times with how to effectively communicate, connect, and charm a beautiful woman, even people within my community, in a way that's in alignment with my values. And I realized if when the common denominator was me, and that's what I realized, things had to change. So what did I do? I have a list of recommendations for you guys as to what I did, and I highly advise you do it as well because this was the separating factor. First is being a man means taking all out responsibility and accountability for everything that you do, everything that happens to you, and everything that will happen to you. We can't control the environment, but if you know it's going to rain and you don't bring an umbrella, that's your fault. You didn't prepare. You didn't do what was necessary to put yourself in a position to stay dry and to make things happen. My journey began like this. From these lessons, we learn there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of struggle, and we don't want this to continue. So, how do we remedy the situation? I looked at myself and I thought, you know what? I need to get healthier. I need to get smarter. I need to learn how to communicate better. I need to become a better leader. How do I find the resources? Do I join a community? Do I watch a video? Do I read a book? Do I listen to a podcast? Do I just do hard things? And the answer is all the above. Get a community around you of men that you aspire to become. If you are around, let's say, 5 people, who they say 5 people you spend the most time with is who you become. If you're with them all the time, you're not creating the qualities of creating the habits of a man who has the qualities of someone who can lead, who can provide, someone who can demonstrate what it means to have courage. We rise to the expectations of our peer group. If your peer group is very, very low, they're not thinking big, they're not thinking ahead, they're not thinking what it means to provide and protect and be present, you will sink to that level. That's not what we're looking to do. Community, peer group. Go out. And the best way to actually create that peer group and that community is A, seek and ye shall find. And when you do that, you realize that life is going to happen more for you and not necessarily to you. It's a collaboration that we have together, and we create these moments. That's how you're going to create community. And there's more process to it, but it's essentially having the expectation of, hey, this is what I want to happen. How do I make that happen? And then taking the necessary actions to do it. Books, podcasts, videos, movies, films. Gentlemen, everything that you are consuming through your eyes, through your nose, through your mouth, through your ears, through touch, and through just the overall stimuli comes in one way and it comes out another way. If you're eating a lot of fast food junk, when you use the bathroom, you're going to have a really bad time. If you're eating healthy fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, water, hydrating, it's going to be a very different outcome. If you're listening to music that is derogatory and it's making people feel smaller and belittled, you're going to pick that up. If you're listening to music that makes you depressed all the time, you're going to essentially pick up those habits. Fill your mind with wisdom. Fill your ears with wisdom. Fill your smell with scents that expand you as opposed to shrink you. Guys, the reality is when I was younger, I capitulated and I wanted to please people, not all the time, but sometimes I did. And I regret it every single time. I regret it. There's a saying I love is that it is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. In this situation, what we had to realize as men is that so often we've been compromising on our values to meet other people's needs. And that is a recipe for disaster because in a way that's seeking external validation because we're not comfortable enough with our own values. You're Christian? Oh, I'm going to, wait, but that's what I believe. Those are my values. Hey, look, I'm a good guy. I serve God. I'm doing what I got to do. I'm serving. I cannot compromise my values. Let's have a discussion. We can disagree without disrespect. Part of that element, gentlemen, is learning how to guard the door of your mind at all times. Everything that comes in is going to come out. All of this ties in to being educated and figuring out a man who is competent is a man who has space in the real world. As much as I love it and as much as I wish this was the case, we're all great men, women, children, we're all great people. But the reality is that on the Titanic, the women and the children were the first ones saved. The men had to stay back and protect the ship and the women and the children. If you walk down any street in a major city, which it's a tragedy, you're going to see a lot of homeless men. Rare you see homeless women, and homeless children is even more rare. If you see a man, a woman, and a child, all three of them lined up, all homeless, we are going to subconsciously and unconsciously gravitate towards the child first, the woman second, and the man third. Is this fair? That's up for you to decide. Is it reality? Yes. The reality being, gentlemen, is that when we are born, we have spiritual value. We are God's children. We have that value in us, and we're all equal in that sense. But as men, you cannot get away with being incompetent. You can try, but you're probably not have any success. And I always tell the guys that I work with is that you do not have the ability to not provide. You will not be loved unconditionally. You need to provide. However, think about this. What a beautiful thing. You're telling me that I get to become someone, that my starting point in life is not my destiny. I can become. That's exciting. What do I need to learn? You got to read books. You got to listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos. You got to absorb information and then apply that information. Knowledge is not enough. We must apply. If we do not apply the knowledge that we get in, it's just information. And information is nice, but if it doesn't get us anywhere, if it doesn't expand our horizons and our ability to communicate, to share ideas with others, to lead in certain environments, we're going to be left behind, gentlemen. That's the reality. The world is getting much more difficult. It's not going to get easy. We're actually in the winter. There's seasons in history, and it's the winter, spring, summer, and autumn, fall. We are in the winter. The 2020s was a lot of growth, exponential. Even with AI coming, there's going to be so many new challenges. With the changing times is that the world realizes we need men. We need women. We need children. We also need men. We need men to be men. And what is a man? A man is someone who provides, who protects, who is present, who takes accountability, who knows how to lead from the front and lead from the back. It's a leader isn't someone who stands in front of the big box and has a rope on the bottom and says, push that way, pull us that way. And then once we get there, just push us, and is yelling at the people pulling. No, the leader is in the front pulling with everybody else. A leader demonstrates through their actions, not through their words. Words are cheap. And as a man, we are measured by the actions that we take. We are measured by the content of our character. We are measured by how we provide and how useful we are. There are many ways to be useful, many ways to be productive, many ways to be a masculine man. What we need to remember, gentlemen, is although society has changed and although cultures are changing, there are fundamental laws and rules that actually apply in any given circumstance. If you want to attract more business opportunities, if you want better health, if you want to attract the woman of your dreams, if you want to lead your children, if you want to be someone people looks up to, you need to take accountability, claim responsibility, envision a better and more compelling future. And let me ask you guys this. What's the story you're telling yourself? Is the story you're telling yourself, when I was in 5th grade, the girl dumped me, and when I was in 8th grade, I got beat up by the class bullies. So now in the world, I'm just never going to approach women, and I'm also always going to be fearful of someone who raises their voice a little bit. You could do that. That's your choice. No one's going to force you not to do that, or force you rather to do that. Realize this. The ability to choose is ours at any moment. We may be constricted by what we can do in our environment, but our ability to choose what we believe in is always ours. And if you sow a thought, you reap an act. You sow an act, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. And you sow a character, you reap a destiny. Gentlemen, I want to close on this note. Life is getting tougher. The men in the society that we live in, specifically in the Western world, we're having a lot of challenges. And is it fair? Is it right? Is it just? That's for you to play around with and think about. It doesn't matter if it's fair. It matters what needs to happen next. I like a lot of Stoic philosophy because a lot of Stoic philosophy talks about what is in our mind, what are we controlling, what can we believe about this outcome, what's in our control, what's out of our control. What does this mean? Are we suffering in more of our imagination than we are in reality? What can we do moving forward? Are we living in accordance with virtue? But then all that supplemented by Christian faith, we're focusing on that element. And even we can always learn from other religions as well, is the idea of in every tribe, in every culture, in every religion, men have led the process, and men have learned that it's not a wrestling match with them and women, but it's actually a dance. How can we complement one another? How can we learn from our mistakes? Guys, I've made plenty of mistakes. I could write 3 novels about the mistakes I made. But the beauty about that, and although I would have wished that no one had experienced the negative of that entire experience, what I now realize is that although that's a challenging situation, people get hurt as they always do. It's unfortunate. It's part of learning. My upbringing wasn't the easiest, so I had to learn on my own. But the best apology is a change in behavior. If you make a mistake and you repeat it more than once, it's a choice. As men, we have the choice. We decide who we want to become, what we want to do, and really, what are we doing all this for? Work on yourself, work on your mind, work on your spirit, work on your emotions, work on your physical health, work on building community. Be quick, be slow to anger and quick to understand, quick to forgive. Embody the characteristics of a mentor that you are looking to become, because if we know that target of where we want to go, our trajectory is like this. But if we have that target that's higher than us, we're going to work diligently to get to that point. Gentlemen, how to be a man month, knock it out, focus. You have the ability, you have the responsibility and the duty to your wife, to your future children or future wife if you don't have any at the moment. And really think about yourself when you're 90, 100. If you get to live so long by the grace of God, when you're at the age of 90 and 100, 110, 120, maybe, who knows, maybe we'll live till 200. Things are changing all the time. If you have the ability to live to that age, do you want to look back and think, could have done more? Could have been more? Could I have become more? An excellent quote I love to wrap this up is, most men die when they're 30, but are buried when they're 80.